Imagine you're holding, like, a ticking time bomb in your hand,
Right.
but the only way you can actually defuse it is by using a piece of the bomb's own casing.
It sounds like an action movie trope, honestly.
It really does, but that's essentially what cashew farmers deal with every single day.
Yeah, it is entirely real.
And I want to welcome you to today's deep dive. If you've ever eaten a cashew, just snacking on them, you probably haven't thought much about where they actually come from.
Most people haven't, yeah.
But the botanical reality of this plant is just wild. The nut actually grows on the outside of the fruit.
Which is so strange to picture.
Right. It dangles off the bottom of this weird, fleshy, like bell-shaped thing called a cashew apple.
And that's not even the craziest part.
No, because wrapped around that delicious nut is a shell. And that shell is filled with a highly toxic caustic resin.
Literally a poison protecting a prize.
Exactly. So today, our mission is to explore this fascinating excerpt from a document we have. It's titled Cashew.docdocs.
Which is such a simple name for such a complex narrative.
I know, right? But it details this incredible story from a larger collection called Sammy's Quiet Treasury of Field-Borne Medicine.
It really is a fascinating text.
It is. We're looking at this one specific, super chaotic event in a humid cashew yard to understand, well, how humans react to sudden crisis.
And the hidden psychology of panic, too.
Yeah, and this really profound concept about how we often completely ignore the solutions that are sitting, like, literally right in front of us.
What's fascinating here is that this specific account, it operates on multiple levels.
What do you mean?
Well, on the surface, sure, it's a medical anecdote. It's about treating a chemical burn in an agricultural setting.
Right, a very specific setting.
But beneath that, it's actually a really rigorous case study. It looks at cognitive science, crisis leadership, and the epistemology of how we acquire knowledge.
Epistemology, wow. Big word for a cashew yard.
I mean, we tend to think of medicine and science as things that only happen in sterile labs, right? With stainless steel tables and white coats.
Yeah, definitely.
But this story forces us to look at the deep empirical science happening right in the dirt, in the heat of a working orchard.
Okay, let's unpack this because we need to understand the environment first to get the stakes here.
The setting is crucial, absolutely.
We're in a cashew yard, and it's midday, it's sticky, it's humid.
The kind of oppressive heat where you feel like you're breathing underwater.
Exactly. And you have dozens of workers locked into this highly manual, repetitive rhythm.
Cracking these raw cashew nuts by hand, one by one.
Yeah, and there's a really distinct kinetic energy to this place.
It's loud.
Very loud, it's rhythmic, and above all, it's dangerous.
The danger is pretty much the defining feature of the environment.
Because of that resin we mentioned earlier?
Right. Every single raw cashew nut holds cashew nut shell liquid. Or CNSL.
Okay, CNA.
And the primary component of that liquid is this stuff called anacardic acid.
Which sounds super intimidating. I mean, we hear the word acid and we picture like a bubbling green vial in a cartoon, right?
Melting right through the floorboards.
Exactly. So what is this anacardic acid actually doing at a chemical level?
Well, it's not quite the cartoon acid, but for human skin, it is incredibly destructive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, anacardic acid is a phenolic compound. Structurally, it's actually remarkably similar to urushiol.
Urushiol. Wait, isn't that...
the active toxin in poison ivy and poison oak.
Oh, man. So it's like superpowered poison ivy.
Very much so. The concentration in the cashew shell is just intense. It's this dark, highly viscous liquid.
Like a thick sludge.
Yeah. And because it's lipophilic, which means it loves fat,
Okay.
when it hits human skin, it doesn't just sit on the surface.
It goes right in.
It immediately begins dissolving the lipid bilayers of your cell membranes.
That is horrifying.
It crosses the stratum corneum, which is the outer layer of your skin, almost instantly. And that triggers a massive inflammatory response.
So it's literally breaking down the cellular boundaries of your skin on contact.
Precisely. It causes severe contact dermatitis.
I can't even imagine how much that hurts.
Well, the immune system detects this chemical invasion and just panics.
Like alarms going off everywhere.
Exactly. It releases a massive flood of histamines and substance P.
Substance.
It's a neurotransmitter associated with really intense pain. The blood vessels dilate, plasma leaks into the tissue, and you get these furious, angry welts.
And they can blister, right?
Oh, they blister and they can scar permanently. It's a chemical burn that feels like you've been branded with a hot iron.
And unfortunately, that is exactly what happens in the narrative from our source text.
Right. The accidents.
Yeah, the whole rhythm of the yard is just shattered because a worker slips.
Just a momentary lapse.
It's a slip, but in the fumble, a streak of this dark, viscous acid splashes directly across his bare forearm.
And their reaction is instantaneous.
It really is. The source says the reaction isn't just physical, it's this immediate psychological fracture in the whole group.
The panic is contagious.
Totally. The guy's clutching his arm, he's trembling, the skin is instantly turning furious red.
And the entire yard just erupts into pure chaos. And the group dynamics of that chaos, that's what we really need to isolate here.
Let's do it.
Because when the accident happens, the collective reaction is not some coordinated emergency response.
Like you'd hope it would be.
Right. It's a frantic, disorganized scramble. People are shouting all these conflicting instructions.
Yeah, the text notes someone is yelling to get water.
Someone else is shouting for lime.
Another person is literally screaming for soap. I mean, that scramble, that panic, feels universally human to me.
Oh, absolutely.
It reminds me of the cognitive tunneling that happens during, like, any sudden crisis.
We all been there.
Like when a server goes down at a tech company or, I don't know, someone starts choking in a restaurant.
Right. Suddenly everyone forgets their training.
They just start yelling out random ideas. It's like a chaotic boardroom where everyone is just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks.
Which amplifies the victim's anxiety instead of soothing it.
Exactly. But why those specific things? Water, lime, soap. Why is the human brain defaulting to that specific list in this rural cashew yard?
Well, it really comes down to cognitive load and how the brain operates under acute stress.
Okay, break that down for me.
When a crisis hits, the amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center.
The lizard brain.
Basically, yeah. It hijacks the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for logical, higher-order executive function.
So the logic center goes offline.
Essentially, yes. The brain's RAM just gets dumped. Creative problem-solving is gone, and the brain frantically searches its database for heavily grooved, generalized survival heuristics.
So they're just running basic, like if this, then that subroutines.
Exactly.
Like if dirty or burning, then wash with water. If chemical, use soap.
Precisely. They are reaching for processed, manufactured interventions.
Even in the middle of nature.
Right. Soap and processed lime, these are external tools brought into the environment to exert control over it.
Because that's our modern default when we face sudden pain. We look for something manufactured.
The workers are completely disconnected from the immediate reality of their surroundings at this moment.
Because their brains are trapped in fight or flight mode.
Yes. They're defaulting to conventional remedies rather than analyzing the specific chemical nature of the threat right in front of them.
And applying water or regular soap to a highly lipophilic phenolic acid, I mean, that isn't going to neutralize it, is it?
No, not at all. It might even spread the oil around, making the burn significantly worse.
Oh, man. So they're yelling for things that would actually hurt him more.
It's the illusion of action. Doing something, even if it's counterproductive, it temporarily relieves the group's feeling of helplessness.
So the noise and the scrambling, it's just a psychological coping mechanism.
Exactly, for the collective trauma of watching a peer in severe agony.
Which is exactly why the intervention of the yard supervisor, this guy named Sammy, creates such a massive contrast in the story.
The shift in tone when Sammy enters is just palpable.
It really is. He doesn't sprint over.
Yeah.
He doesn't shout for people to calm down.
He doesn't try to talk over the noise at all.
No, he just walks into the center of this frantic huddle with an entirely different kinetic energy.
He is completely grounded.
Yeah, that physical presence alone begins to diffuse the ambient panic.
True crisis leadership rarely looks frantic,
It's so true.
By maintaining this slow, deliberate physical cadence, Sammy is neurologically signaling to the group that the threat level is manageable.
But the truly remarkable detail here, I think, is his diagnostic process.
It's incredible.
It really stopped me in my tracks when I read it. He walks up to this worker who is trembling in absolute agony, got this furious red streak on his arm.
And what does he do?
Sammy looks at the burn only once.
Just a single glance.
Just once. He doesn't poke at it. He doesn't ask the guy how much oil splashed on him.
He doesn't ask a dozen frantic questions.
One look. That's it.
That single glance is the absolute hallmark of deep, ingrained expertise.
Really? How so?
In cognitive psychology, this is sometimes referred to as thin slicing.
Thin slicing, okay.
But it goes deeper than that. Sammy doesn't need to stare because he isn't trying to deduce what happened from scratch.
Right. He's seen it before.
He's relying on a massive internal database of pattern recognition built over literally decades of quiet observation.
It's like a seasoned mechanic, right? Who can just listen to an engine rattle for 2 seconds and tell you exactly which valve is misfiring.
Exactly.
While a novice would need to take the whole entire engine apart just to figure it out.
That's a really good way to frame it. When a novice looks at a complex situation, their brain has to process every individual piece of data sequentially.
Which takes forever.
It's exhausting and it takes time. But when an expert like Sammy looks at the same scene, his brain chunks the information.
Chunks it.
Yes. He instantly processes the visual data, the specific shade of the erythema, the viscosity of the oil streak, the contextual environment.
All in 1 second.
And his basal ganglia instantly match it to a known pattern, so his cognitive load remains incredibly low.
Which allows him to just skip the diagnostic panic entirely.
And move straight to the solution.
And the solution is where things get really fascinating for me.
It's so unexpected.
It is.
Yeah.
Sammy turns away from the frantic workers. They're still yelling for soap and water.
Right.
And he reaches into a harvest basket, sitting literally right next to them.
Just an ordinary basket.
Full of freshly plucked cashew apples. You know, the sweet golden red fruit that the toxic nut is attached to.
Right.
He picks one up, he gently squeezes it, and trickles the cool, fragrant juice directly onto the chemical burn.
It's brilliant.
But I have to challenge the premise here for a second, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
These workers, they spend 10, 12 hours a day in this yard.
It's their entire livelihood.
They process thousands of these cashews. They've likely seen burns before, right?
Well, no, certainly.
So I struggle to believe that people working there for generations wouldn't know that the fruit cures the burn.
I see where you're going.
Isn't it much more likely that in a moment of panic, their rational brains just shut off, rather than this being some profound case of them being, like, blinded by routine?
Well, it's a fair critique, but I think you're underestimating how deeply the brain categorizes the world to save energy.
Okay, tell me more.
It's a concept known as functional fixedness.
Functional fixedness.
Yes, panic shuts down the rational brain, absolutely. But functional fixedness is what dictates which ideas the panicked brain actually has access to.
Okay, break that down for me. What is functional fixedness in this context?
So functional fixedness is a cognitive bias that limits a person to using an object only in the way it is traditionally used.
Okay, give me an example.
Think of Carl Dunker's famous candle problem from the 1940s.
I'm not sure I know that one.
People are given a candle, a box of thumbtacks and matches, and told to attach the candle to the wall.
Okay.
Most people fail because they see the box only as a receptacle for tacks, not as a potential shelf for the candle.
Oh, wow. Because it's just a box of tacks in their head.
Exactly. In the cashew yard, the workers' brains have heavily categorized the cashew apple.
Right.
It is food, it is commodity, it is byproduct.
I see. So when their brain runs this desperate search algorithm for medicine or antidote during the crisis, it completely bypasses the food category.
Exactly. The fruit becomes totally invisible to them as a tool.
That is wild.
Routine hasn't made them stupid, you know? It has highly optimized their perception.
But in the wrong way for this situation.
Right. In normal operations, that optimization makes them fast and efficient. But in a novel crisis, it makes them blind.
And Sammy doesn't have that blindness.
Sammy maintains cognitive flexibility. He hasn't allowed routine to sever his connection to the multifaceted properties of his environment.
So he sees the object not just for its primary economic function, but for its actual chemical reality.
Precisely.
It makes you wonder, how many solutions in our own lives are sitting right in front of us.
Probably a lot.
But we can't see them because we firmly place them in the wrong mental box.
It's a very common human failing.
So Sammy squeezes this cashew apple juice over the burn. The worker dabs it in, and the relief is just almost instantaneous.
The transformation is striking.
The sting softens, the redness eases, and the violent pain just evaporates.
It works incredibly well.
And it's this incredibly poetic moment for the workers watching. The very plant that produced the caustic, destructive toxin also provides the immediate soothing antidote.
Hanging from the exact same branch.
Literally from the exact same branch.
The duality of nature is a really powerful motif here. But what's crucial is that we don't romanticize it as just magic or folklore.
Right, because it's not magic.
No, there is a deeply functional biological mechanism at play here.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because Sammy actually explains the science to the workers.
He doesn't act like a mystic at all.
No. He tells them, and I quote, "The fruit's juice cools the skin. It has a mild acid, but not the harsh kind."
He's basically giving a localized chemistry lesson right there in the dirt.
So what is actually happening when that juice hits the anacardic acid?
Well, the cashew apple is extremely rich in a few specific compounds.
Okay.
First, it has an incredibly high concentration of ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C,
Right.
much higher than an orange, actually. It also contains malic acid and, crucially, a really high concentration of tannins.
Tannins, like what you find in red wine or black tea.
Exactly.
The stuff that makes your mouth feel dry and puckered.
Yes. Tannins are polyphenols, and they act as powerful astringents.
Okay, so how does that help a chemical burn?
When Sammy applies the juice, a few things happen simultaneously. The cool liquid immediately draws thermal energy away from the inflamed tissue.
So that provides immediate physical relief from the heat.
Right. But chemically, those tannins go to work. Tannins bind to and precipitate proteins.
Meaning they sort of clump the proteins together?
Yes. They cross-link the proteins on the surface of the skin, essentially creating a microscopic protective barrier over the damaged tissue.
Oh, wow. So it forms a shield.
Exactly. This barrier limits the permeability of the skin, slowing down the absorption of any remaining anacardic acid.
That is so elegant.
It is. Furthermore, the mild acids in the fruit juice, the vitamin C and malic acid, they likely alter the local pH just enough to stabilize the lipid membranes.
And that reduces the inflammation.
It reduces the neurogenic inflammation, yes. It's a beautifully elegant, localized pharmacological intervention.
He is literally using the plant's own biochemistry against its defense mechanism.
It's brilliant.
But there's a caveat Sammy has that I think is the most important part of this entire account.
It really is a crucial detail.
He tells the workers that this specific cure works, but, quote, only for certain skin types, the ones that don't blister easily. For them, it neutralizes the burn.
That single sentence completely redefines Sammy's character for me.
How so? Because to me, it just sounds like he's covering his bases,
Yeah.
in case it doesn't work next time.
Oh, it's much more significant than that. A purveyor of folklore or a snake oil salesman, they deal in absolutes.
Like this magic juice cures all burns.
Exactly. But Sammy is operating as a rigorous empiricist. He understands biological variables.
Because he's been watching these workers for years.
Right. He has observed over decades of managing this yard that human immunological responses are not uniform.
Right, because earlier you mentioned the immune system releasing histamines when the oil hits.
Yes.
And people have vastly different histamine responses.
Yeah.
It's why one person gets a tiny bump from a mosquito bite and another person gets a massive swollen welt.
Precisely. Sammy has observed what we in medicine would call type 4V delayed hypersensitivity reactions.
Okay, translated to plain English.
He knows that some workers have a genetic predisposition to severe blistering when exposed to anacardic acid.
While others just get the redness.
Right. Localized erythema. He recognizes that his natural remedy has limitations.
It's not a magic bullet.
No. It can soothe the redness and stop the burning for the latter group, but it might not be enough to stop the full immunological cascade in the blister-prone group.
That nuance, that elevates him from a guy who just got lucky with a folk remedy to a scientist operating without a lab.
That's exactly what he is.
He is testing hypotheses, observing variables, and adjusting his clinical application based on empirical evidence gathered over decades in the field.
And that realization is what stuns the workers into silence.
The hush of awe.
Yeah. They had seen Sammy fix broken machinery. They knew he could manage logistics. He could calm down labor disputes.
He's a competent guy.
Very. But seeing him confidently neutralize a chemical burn using the byproduct of their own harvest.
It forces a complete paradigm shift.
Absolutely. In how they view their environment and how they view him.
But the thing is, Sammy doesn't exploit that awe. He doesn't puff his chest out or claim to have some secret ancient wisdom.
He's very humble about it.
He basically just shrugs and indicates that anyone could know this if they just paid attention.
And this brings us to the core philosophy embedded in this narrative.
Right. The account distills Sammy's approach to medicine and problem solving down to 3 distinct pillars.
These are so important.
Number 1, observe keenly. Number 2, use what's around. And number 3, heal with nature first.
These aren't just quaint agricultural tips, They represent a fundamental epistemological stance.
Let's examine the first one. Observe keenly. Because in our modern context, we often confuse looking with observing.
We do. We're constantly bombarded with visual data.
Probably more than any generation in human history, honestly.
Oh, without a doubt. But we're mostly just passively scanning it, right?
Scrolling, glancing, filtering, just swiping past things.
Exactly. Passive scanning is about threat detection and dopamine mining.
Dopamine mining. I like that phrase.
But active observation, which is what Sammy practices, that requires sustained cognitive endurance.
It takes actual effort.
It's willingness to watch a system operate over a long period, noting the tiny anomalies, the slight deviations in pattern.
He knew about the skin types and the neutralizing effects, not because he read a study,
No, because he possessed the patience to actively observe his environment.
when everyone else was just trying to grind through their shift.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Go for it.
it sets up this incredible tension between textbook knowledge and field-borne wisdom.
Yeah, obviously textbook learning is foundational. We need standardized, peer-reviewed data.
Of course we do, but field wisdom is deeply contextual.
Right, a textbook gives you the generalized rule for the masses.
But the field gives you the specific variables of your immediate reality,
This leads directly into his second pillar. Use what's around.
which was so evident during the crisis.
During the panic, the workers instantly tried to outsource the solution.
They wanted piped water, manufactured soap, processed chemicals.
But Sammy's instinct was to look inward, at the immediate resources of the specific ecosystem they were occupying.
It's a philosophy of radical environmental integration.
And it is so highly relevant to how we operate today, if you think about it.
How so?
Think about how often you or I ignore the Sammy approach in our daily lives.
We do it all the time.
We are culturally conditioned to conflate complexity with efficacy.
Expand on that. Where do you see that happening most often?
I mean, everywhere, but particularly in health and technology.
Okay.
If you feel chronically stressed, the modern instinct is to look for a complicated, expensive, external intervention.
Right. We buy a $500 bio-tracking ring to monitor our cortisol.
Exactly. We subscribe to 3 different AI-driven meditation apps. We import adaptogenic mushroom powders from halfway across the world.
Guilty as charged.
Right. Meanwhile, a simpler, vastly more effective solution.
Like literally just leaving your phone inside.
Yes. Walking out your front door and sitting under a tree for 20 minutes.
Entirely ignored.
Because we assume that since modern stress feels complex, the antidote must be equally manufactured and complex.
It's the exact same psychological trap that cashew workers fell into.
When they shouted for soap instead of looking at the fruit.
We overlook the elegant, immediate solutions because they don't look like medicine or technology.
It reminds me of a massive software bug crashing a system.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
I've seen development teams spend a week over-engineering a wildly complex patch, introducing whole new frameworks to try and fix a glitch.
Making it even more complicated.
Yeah, and then a senior engineer, someone operating on Sammy's frequency, walks in.
Looks at the architecture once.
Deletes a single rogue line of foundational code, and everything stabilizes.
They used what was already there.
They observed keenly instead of panicking and adding more noise to a system that was already overwhelmed.
The senior engineer understands the ecosystem. And that brings us to the third pillar. Heal with nature first.
Heal with nature first.
This is often framed in academia as traditional ecological knowledge, or tech.
Okay, tech.
It's not a rejection of Western empirical reductionism, right?
Okay.
Sammy clearly understands chemical reactions.
He's not anti-science.
Not at all, but it is a prioritization.
Meaning what exactly?
It suggests that before we bypass our immediate environment to import a synthetic solution, we should first investigate whether the ecosystem we are in has already provided an evolutionary counterbalance.
Because nature rarely creates a vulnerability without also evolving a mitigation strategy nearby.
Frequently, yes. We see this in pharmacology all the time.
Like where?
The Amazon basin, for example. It is a chemical warfare zone of plant toxins.
Everything is trying to kill you.
Right. But it is also the source of some of our most profound medical breakthroughs, from quinine to ACE inhibitors.
Wow.
Sammy's philosophy operates on the premise that the environment is a complete pharmacy, provided you know how to read the labels.
I love that. Provided you know how to read the label.
It's all about observation.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out from this humid, sticky cashew yard in the middle of a chaotic afternoon,
Right.
what is the ultimate takeaway? What is the shift in perspective we're supposed to walk away with?
I think the core takeaway is a radical reevaluation of where authority and solutions actually reside.
That's powerful.
We are deeply conditioned by our culture to believe that salvation comes from the top down.
From the pristine laboratory.
The university lectern, the
Mhm.
tech conglomerate.
And while those institutions are obviously vital, they are not the exclusive domains of truth.
Exactly. Wisdom, deep empirical science, and profound problem solving often grow quietly right in the dirt.
But it requires a shift, doesn't it?
Yes. A shift from a posture of frantic, reactive consumption
Always shouting for someone else to bring this up.
to a posture of grounded, observant stillness.
It's about having the cognitive discipline to not let panic override your perception,
That's the hardest part.
to not let routine blind you to the potential of the things you touch every single day.
Precisely. Sammy didn't conquer nature, you know. He understood its duality so intimately that he could orchestrate its elements to correct an imbalance.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a concept to turn over in your mind over the next few days.
Oh, homework.
Exactly. We've explored the poetic and chemical reality of the cashew plant today,
How it holds a fierce, tissue-destroying poison.
and its own immediate, soothing antidote on the exact same branch.
It's a beautiful metaphor.
It really is, and it forces a really compelling question. What other poisons in our modern lives are sitting right next to their own antidotes?
That's a great question.
Think about the toxic friction in your workplace, or the chronic stress of your digital life.
Or even communication breakdowns in your relationships.
Right. Are we so busy panicking, so busy yelling for external manufactured solutions, that we are completely ignoring the antidotes sitting right next to us in the basket?
Hiding in plain sight.
The solutions to our modern burns might literally be waiting for us to just quiet down and observe.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your eyes open, challenge your own routines, and we'll catch you next time.